money will show people's true character. Friends who I wanted to bring in because it was so lucrative, but unfortunately, not every friend is good for business. The pandemic was something that it was a catalyst, and it was also a huge learning experience. The one thing I say, like in regards to growing, is keeping, boots on the ground and being where you need to be, like showing up at events that are relevant to your industry. And we were looking at multi-million-dollar like contracts and deals.
Yeah, always getting to it. You know what I'm saying? Like never using that as an excuse. And then on top of that, you were able to even switch industries, which I think is like one of the hardest things anybody can do. How did you do that? Like, what was that like?
How I changed the industry was really, I decided that I wanted to be a government contractor. So I was
word.
The issue with being an entrepreneur, honestly, is like you don't think things through.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just make a decision and you do it. So that's what I did. And it was a slow start because when I got to Atlanta, everybody kept trying to push me back into insurance. I did that, but I kept the business, but it was almost dormant at one point. I had a few clients. I went ahead, the first thing I did when I started the company, I went ahead and certified the company. With all of the minority certifications I qualified for.
Yeah, word.
And then I went and did like all the SCORE programs, went to like a lot of the marketing stuff, all of the webinar meetings and things that they had.
Yeah.
But the big trajectory was honestly during the pandemic, because I dealt with manufacturers directly.
But how? How did you deal with like?
My dad owns a cleaning company, janitorial. So I already knew like where a lot of the chemicals and supplies and materials come from.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, well, why am I gonna go to the middleman when I'm trying to be the middleman? Let me go straight to the source.
Yeah.
So I've started to build those relationships with manufacturers. What people don't understand, a pandemic already happened before we accepted it.
What do you mean?
Here. My manufacturers are reaching out to me in November and December.
Saying what?
We are converting to PPE. We're converting protections. Do you need any PPE, masks, gloves, and whatever? And I was like, what?
He's like, nah, that's corny. What do I want to wear a mask?
Well, I just didn't understand that. But when you're dealing with manufacturers globally, you know what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
And so I knew that there was a health epidemic in Asia.
Yeah.
And it was starting to spread. I had that end, and then the few people, like one of my girlfriends, she was well connected with a lot of government officials and stuff. So the few people that knew that I dealt with manufacturing reached out to me asking me if I had it.
Yeah.
So then I just became that kind of midpoint.
The plug. You became the plug.
Really. So everybody was bored. I did not sleep because it became a 24-hour business.
Getting PPE.
PPE, sourcing it, negotiating. Everybody all of a sudden was a medical supply company. And at that point, my company was already 3 or 4 years old.
So that's just timing then. So
it
like
was
for you,
timing.
it's just luck, timing. I mean, that's it.
It was timing. I mean, it was inevitable because I already had I had a few contracts, but small ones. So I still believe like inevitably it would have grown if I stuck to it.
For sure.
But the pandemic was something that it was a catalyst, and it was also a huge learning experience. Like I literally got baptized by the fire.
You come to Atlanta, obviously you're raising your kids, you're getting pulled into the industry, you're trying to get out, business that went dormant. You then went back and re-looked at, okay, what do I know? You know, your dad has the cleaning business. You understand the mechanics of it. You go into something that's like, okay, this is connected to the business that I grew up in. You know, how could I make this work? You reach out to the manufacturers because, most people just buy supplies, but you went above that because you had that entrepreneurship mindset.
Yeah, you got to go straight to the source.
You go straight to the source, which takes courage, but also information that you had. And then you get hip to the fact that something is coming. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and then from that, you're first to market in a way in this area. And then you just keep grinding it out. And so now you've done that, you got a couple of contracts at that point, I should say. And then what I've noticed from you, just seeing you on social media, of course, is that now you're in with like different, like in the political world. I see you in that space. Yeah. So like how did that come about?
So everything kind of happened organically. The one thing I say, like in regards to growing, is keeping, boots on the ground and being where you need to be, like showing up at events that are relevant to your industry.
Like what? Like give me an example, like what that looks like.
So first we started with janitorial and office supplies, and then we expanded into medical because because of the pandemic. So going to seminars and conferences and meetings, joining associations, and then knowing that like when that infrastructure bill was passed,
Yeah.
$3.1 trillion bill.
I know y'all was
You
happy
know
when that
the
joint,
money,
when that joint
like
was
that's
getting.
money coming in. So what's everybody need? You got to build. What do you need to build?
Yeah.
Material. So now we're going to all these pre-construction meetings,
Yeah.
making those connections with the GCs, the subs, and just letting them know like we can get it.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of manufacturers, what you got to look at is what the raw material it is that they utilize and what they're making with.
Yeah.
And most of them make a variety of different things that fall into multiple industries. If you have a good relationship with your, whoever your vendor is, your manufacturer, supplier is, and you continue to bring good business and you maintain good communication, then you can start to better negotiate your numbers.
Yeah.
And then
just build a
bring
business.
that. Yeah.
That's what's up. And then at what point did you hire your first employee?
My first staff I hired was during the pandemic. I hired 5 people, paid them on salary full time.
Like American salary or
US
overseas?
They were all US American.
Right. Wow.
I had an investor that helped push.
Sweet.
And so I hired a sales team.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is that they weren't true salespeople, or they just, the luxury of having a consistent base salary during the pandemic, and then you know how everybody was getting their money.
A true salesman works on commission. you know
right,
what I'm saying?
exactly. But I was just like, well, everybody was losing their jobs,
Yeah.
so I had an opportunity to employ people.
Yeah. Nah, your heart was right.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But no. So when I realized that I was bringing all the sales and I'm just spending my money paying people, then I just let everybody go.
Let me ask you this question, right? Because this was somebody that's like getting ready that's building a business, and they're the only person doing it, which is common for a lot of, especially black business owners. They don't have any employees, right? And so taking that step to your first hire is a big thing, right? And so for you went salespeople first, right? Where some people go admin first. Some people might go like a financial person first. What made you do sales first?
Because it was the administrative aspect of what I needed was very minimal, and I could handle that aspect, and I needed to capture the opportunity at the moment. And the only way you can capture the opportunity is to duplicate yourself.
Yeah. 100%.
In sales.
Yeah.
And sales is what brings the money in. What I decided to do was I hired 5 people, and each of them focused on a specific industry.
Okay.
Solely pushing PPE.
Okay. You hired those 5. That didn't work out, obviously, because they wasn't commission based, or at least heavily part of their compensation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. So when you have like comp people, like you, obviously they perform better. And then after you had those 5 reps, you let them go. What was the next struggle in the business after you let them go? Was there a struggle point?
There was plenty of struggles. Well, first of all, letting all those people go. Then the other struggle was managing relationships. You know what I mean? So what I did was I leveraged the relationships that I had for those people to leverage their relationships to bring in business. Almost like commission, but I was more like a referral. I had friends who I wanted to bring in because it was so lucrative.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't keep all this money to myself. Let me see who I can share this with.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, not every friend is good for business. And
most aren't, to be honest.
Most aren't, yeah, you're right. And so that was another challenge. I lost friendships.
Yeah, wow.
Money will show people's true character. And we were looking at multimillion-dollar like contracts and deals. I had to scale that down because I was like, this is way too much. And there was so many unscrupulous people and characters. Jumping in, and you didn't know who was who. People trying to control deals that they had no control of. You had neither the money or the product, and you trying to tell somebody what to do. And so then I got opportunities to supply to hospitals and health centers, and those were much easier to hold on to because
for you yourself.
Me myself.
Got you.
Because I was still bringing in containers. It was just more so that we were able to meet them where others couldn't in regards to, because we were so small and nimble, I didn't have to deal with these multi-million-dollar contract agreements with the factories. I can just pull what I needed.
So let me just say, so I'm just trying to recap as we go along with, because it seems like your heart is always in,
Yeah.
I want to help people.
Right.
I'm gonna hire these people because they lost their job in the pandemic. So y'all could be my sales reps. That works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everybody's like, yeah, I believe in it. Then you're just paying them. They're not really producing because they don't have that same entrepreneurship spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But your heart was right. But at the end of the day, you end up losing and blowing a bunch of money.
Right.
Because you thought you was doing the right thing. They didn't probably got another job. They living their life. They're not thinking about you. But you still in the game, right? As an entrepreneur. Then happened one time. Then the next time you see all this windfall of money coming in and it's like, shit, y'all, like it's millions of dollars to be made. Let me show y'all what to do. You show them what to do. They take advantage. Friendships are broken up. But again, when it happened, your heart, Jennifer's heart was right. Like, hey, I want to give these people this opportunity. And again, you're left holding the bag.
Right.
And so then now, I hope you learned a lesson now, but then now you're in a place where you realize, you know what, maybe less is more, so to speak, in the sense that we're in this health space, the margins seem like it's a little bit better. I don't need, and it's a better process. So I could just do this myself, right?
What I've learned through the process is if you just keep doing what you're doing and stay focused and build your system, do everything that you can to what you can. If you administrative, you can hire an administrative, train them right, make sure that they're doing that and do that. And I've gone through a few, but I've got a solid team to the point now I actually own part of the company, my virtual team.
Yeah, nice.
So I've got a global virtual team and I own that company. But it took a minute to get to that point.
For sure.
In reference to everyone else on my team, honestly, they came to me.
That's
I wasn't
how you want
asking or looking for it.
They tried to sell you.
Right. They were like,
them.
I want to be part of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
I want, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not even looking to hire nobody. I'm not looking for anyone. No, I can't even afford you. I want to be a part of what it is that you're doing.
Wow. And that's what they say in a lot of leadership books is like, you cast a vision and then the people that want to be a part of that vision, they will come, right? And then now it seems like these people aren't just working for you, but they're building the equity of your business.
Right.
Because it's important to them. It's not just a check.
It is, and they believe in it. It's very humbling. Yeah. I'm very, very grateful and blessed. And I tell my team, thank you every day, every opportunity I can. I think also you have to acknowledge and show appreciation as often as you can to the people around you.
For sure.
You know, and I tell them, I said, there's no way I can grow and do a lot without them, and always try to acknowledge that as much as I possibly can. And also, I look at them as my team members and my partners as opposed to them working for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to respect people for who they are and what they do and the value they're bringing to you.
Yeah.
And make sure that they know that you respect and appreciate it.
Yeah. And like one of the things I always say, and I see you like living it out, is entrepreneurs solve problems, right? You're solving a couple of problems, but you know, your initial business problem is supply chain management, right? And making that better, right? But then what you're doing also is you're hiring people, right? You're hiring people, I'm sure, that look like you in a way.
Oh, I have an initiative. The next goal is to train and hire single moms and put them in a position where they have the skill sets that command a minimum of a six-figure role.
Oh, yeah.